Hi everyone, welcome back. Do you think you could give me the answers to all the questions that follow in this lesson if I help you with some comic strips? Do you think you can? Let's see. And if you enjoy this lesson, do consider subscribing so that you get more lessons of the same kind. Let's begin and see how well you can do in this lesson. Here are the questions and answers of the lesson Meeting Miss Trotwood. The first question from Quick Answers. Put a tick against the sentences that are true and a cross against those that are false. So let's go through these first. Let's see how many of these you can get right. There's A to H, so that's 5, 6, 7, 8 questions. Let's see if you can get all 8 right. The first one. David had had a comfortable journey on the way to his aunt's house. Was it a comfortable journey? Is that true or false? False. The second one. David was neatly dressed when he introduced himself to his aunt. True or false? False. David's aunt had never seen David before. Had she seen him before? Think. False, because she had seen him before when he was a baby. The fourth one, David's aunt recognized him the moment she saw him at the gate. Did she? Did she say, "Oh, David, I recognize you. You're my nephew. Come, come." False. Fifth one, David had had an unhappy life up to the time he came to his aunt's house. True or false? Had he been happy or unhappy? True. He had been very unhappy. The next one, David did not want to live with the Murdstones ever again. Is that true? Yes, it is. G. David's aunt was happy to be David's guardian. Was she? Yes, she was. At Canterbury, David's aunt drove away without looking up because she was glad that David was away at school. True? Not at all. Now let's do this one. "Oh Lord," said my aunt and sat flat down in the garden path. Now, this is reference to context. And what I read just now is the context. That's the line from the text. And the questions that follow are based on that line. Let's see if you can get all three of them right. I'm going to help you with a little kind of a cartoon strip that I created. Where was David? Now, look at the picture very carefully and you will be able to answer the questions. That is Miss Betsy Trotwood. That is David. And see what David's saying. "I'm your nephew, David." Oh my gosh. I know this is what you all normally use these days. So OMG instead of oh my gosh. "I'm so shocked to hear that. I need to sit." So, can you tell me where David was? The first question, where was David? If you look at that picture carefully, you will know where he was. I hope you know. What about B? What was the name of David's aunt? Again, just look at the picture. And C. Why did David's aunt sit flat down in the garden path? I'll read what she said again. "OMG! Oh my gosh! I'm so shocked to hear that. I need to sit." So, why did she sit? Now, let's see if you can put your answers down in writing. So, the first answer should be David was standing beside his aunt in a corner of the garden. B. David's aunt was Miss Betsy Trotwood. And C. David's aunt was shocked at what David had just told her, so she sat flat down in the garden path. I hope you got them right. Let's do the next one. Okay, the school I now went to was in every way better than Salem House. The first question, which school was better than Salem House? Who sent David to the better school? Where did David board while he was at the better school? I'm going to help you with cartoon strips again. So look carefully at the picture while I add things to it. That's the school at Canterbury. Who's standing there? Miss Betsy Trotwood and David. What is she saying to him? David, there is no place at the boarding. Let's see if Mr. Wickfield can keep you for some time. I hope you remember who Mr. Wickfield was, her old lawyer. Yippee! And David is so happy to hear what his aunt just told him. Now we can see a house. Whose house? Mr. Wickfield's house. And that, of course, is Mr. Wickfield. And he doesn't look too happy. Do you know why he doesn't look too happy? Because he's carrying something very heavy. What is he carrying? David's luggage is so heavy. He can't bear it. Look at the way he's perspiring. You can see the sweat pouring down his face. Okay, so now let's see if you can answer all those questions. Which school was better than Salem House? The school at Canterbury was better than Salem House. Who sent David to the better school? David's aunt, Miss Betsy Trotwood, sent David to the better school. C. Where did David board while he was at the better school? David boarded with his aunt's old lawyer, Mr. Wickfield. I hope you got those right too. And now we come to read, reflect, and write. There are 4 questions there. Again, I'm going to help you with a lot of pictures. Okay? And comic strips as far as possible. I believe that when you look at pictures, the answers will stay in your mind even better. So let's do the 4th one first. What were the first things that David's aunt made him do? The very first thing, David, come and take this tonic. So the first thing she did was give him some tonic. Then, David, you need a bath. Come, the water is hot. The next, now wear Mr. Dick's clothes. And, David, come sleep on the sofa. You can cover yourself with these warm shawls. So what are the things you have to remember? Try and remember this picture. When you write your answer, remember this picture and you will not get it wrong, ever. So look at all the things you have to remember. Tonic, bath, and you have to remember Mr. Dick's clothes, which were very big for David because Mr. Dick was a man, David was a boy. The sofa and the shawls. How many things? 5 things. Don't forget them. And now this is how you write it down. David's aunt gave him tonics, heated a bath for him, gave him clothes belonging to Mr. Dick, and gave him 2 warm shawls to cover himself when he slept that night on the sofa. Let's move on to the 5th one. The villain of a story is a character who tries to harm the main character. Name 2 villains in this story. Give reasons stating why you think they are villains. Gundas. Who were they? There they are. And don't they really look like gundas? Don't they really look like villains? The bad people? That was Mr. Murdstone and Miss Murdstone, Mr. Murdstone's sister. Why were they so bad? Send David to work. He does not need to go to school. I know. That's why they were bad, because they did not allow David to go to school. When David was living with them, they sent him to work in a factory. See, the school was there, but they said, no, no school. So now let's put that down in writing. The villains in the story are Mr. Murdstone and his sister. They are considered the villains because they ill-treated David and sent him to work instead of allowing him to go to school. Mean people. Let's do the next one. How did David feel when he first went to school at Canterbury? How did he feel after 2 weeks had passed? Let's see. Now, let's pretend that that's David there, the one who's bald. His aunt, you just pretend that his aunt shaved his head because he was so dirty, he had not combed and brushed his hair, right? And now he's going to school, he needs to look neat. I have forgotten everything. Poor David. He had not been to school for so long that he had forgotten everything he learned. Don't worry, David, I'll help you. See what sweet friends he had at school. And now, what is David thinking? Why is this boy trying to make friends with me? See, David had not had friends for a very long time. He had not been to school for a very long time. So he's suspicious. This happened in the beginning. But what happened 2 weeks later? 2 weeks later. That means one fortnight. A fortnight is 2 weeks. At last, things feel normal and I have friends. David is now happy and he has friends. Now let's put that in writing. David felt strange at first because he had not been to school for a long time. He felt like he had forgotten everything he had learned in the past. He found it hard to mix with other children. However, as time passed, he began to feel better. After 2 weeks had passed, he felt comfortable and happy with his new companions. Got it? I hope the pictures are helping you because that was my intention. The next question: what kind of person was David's aunt? Give examples from the story to support your opinion. So, if you think that she was a mean person, then you need to have evidence from the story for that. If you think she was a kind person, you need to have evidence. You can't just say something without having proof of it. Okay, are you ready? So, that is David's aunt, Miss Betsy Trotwood. She was affectionate. Look at that heart. And she was caring. Look at that heart. And how do we know she was affectionate and caring? Do I have proof of what I'm saying? Of course I do. David's aunt was affectionate. She took David into her home and looked after him. She knew that he had no one to turn to, so she adopted him and gave him a new life. She was caring. She took care of him and gave him tonics to make him strong. You do remember that, don't you? And with that, we've come to the end of the questions and answers. If you have not watched the video in which I have explained the lesson Meeting Miss Trotwood, please do so. Here is an easy link to it. And I'll meet you again very soon in my next video. Until then, do take care, look after yourselves, and cheerio.